Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geopolitics in Conflict. Oh, it is so great to be with you guys here. Uh, I'm just excited to be here because I wanted first to keep you updated and provide you sort of objective information so you can assess and reach your own conclusions. Because, as I said yesterday, you're going to be bombarded by information from different directions. Some of it will be accurate, otherwise, others will not be. You know all this. This is not new to you. But before I launch into what I'm going to talk to you about, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Wade for the super sticker last time. I am sorry I didn't see it last time till after I logged off. And so I wanted to say thank you so much for that, Wade. And to all of you, I truly mean it. I looked at the comments earlier. I am literally as much as I am as much as you are learning from me, I am as well learning from you. I'll give an example of one of our strong supporters, village idiots, even though I don't like it to use the term. And I couldn't agree more with his assessments when he really exemplified or explained why, for example, the areas of the Donbass is very crucial to Russia. It's rich in mineral and access to waters, things that we all can learn from. So I am here as well. I'm here to learn from you as well. So I also want to let you know on Friday, we're going to be doing live stream on locals. So please make sure to join us over there because we're going to be doing some live streams there on Rumble as well. And for those who might be the first time joining us here, please make sure to subscribe if you have not done so. So we truly appreciate your support that way. So the other thing I want to share quickly with you here is you might want to check locals for a video we put in last night, because last night the entire Geopolitics in Conflict team, we went out for dinner yesterday and we decided, you know what, this is a good to share with our supporters. It was just a quick video if you get a chance to see it. Elizabeth uploaded it to Instagram and locals, and I believe TikToks as well. So anyway, let's get into why I'm here and why I wanted to do the follow-up. Well, I want to do a follow-up and update on three key issues. One of them is on the sanctions that I talked about yesterday, a brief follow-up on that. Second one, which is not an update, it's an update about what the Russian president, the orders he gave to the sort of to put the nuclear regiments on a high alert, and what does it mean? And the third issue has to do with Sweden. So, and I will conclude all this with the key question. I don't want to ask it now. I'll ask it later on when we get closer to the end. So anyway, let's talk about the follow-up for the sanctions. Well, last time I said the West and the US, many types of sanctions, but they stopped short as far as the SWIFT system, that is. Well, as of this morning, the US and the European Union decided to move forward with the SWIFT, but not in the way you might think about it, or they might have you think about it. Basically what they said is they're gonna sanction some forward with the sanctions. They are, especially for the SWIFT. But the fact that you are not disclosing the name of those banks, for me personally, makes me put a question mark. So just something to think about. And the reaction to this, Russia already had a plan in place to counter this. And this plan, it didn't happen yesterday or the day before. This plan happened back in 2015, if I'm not mistaken, right after the annexation of Crimea. Because at that time, it was a talk in the West about removing Russia from the SWIFT system. So Russia thought about it and said, we're not going to wait till that happened. We set the system in place. So they do have a system in place. The only thing is that that system is not as effective as the SWIFT system. As I mentioned yesterday, the SWIFT system controls about 11,000 financial institutions. And the only difference that you need to know is that the SWIFT system doesn't fall under the sole authority of the United States. No, because it's centered in Belgium, which means what? It falls under the European Union jurisdiction. So this is why the SWIFT is very complicated. But so Russia already had a plan in place. Nonetheless, make no mistake that its economy will be harmed, will be hit, will suffer some sort of decrease in revenues and so forth. Why? Because most of Russia's trade goes through the SWIFT system. That is why it's very, very important for you to understand that distinctions. What I found it very interesting also regarding the sanctions is that the West and the European Union decided not to sanction two key areas. And those two key areas are aluminum, if you only know why, and the energy, if you only know why. It's because it will have a global ramifications, not just for Russia, but the global economy. So Europeans and the Americans decided, okay, we can sanction the rest, but not those. And that's why I believe, and this is my personal opinion, that the sanctions, they might not do much to Russia. It's kind of, now the European Union is trying to move forward with ensuring to harm the central bank of Russia for having the reserves. Remember, I mentioned to you about Russia having over $600 billion in reserves. Now, the European Union is thinking about ways of how they can harm that one from preventing the central bank. So, and there is a reason for that, that also why Europeans were concerned that sometimes we don't hear about or doesn't get disclosed in Western media. It's the reason being rather, is that the European economy is sort of entangled with the Russian economy. There is a lot of going on. This is one of the objectives the United States wants to do, is to dissociate or remove those ties between the Europe and Russia, because the US was concerned about that one, because it will benefit Europe more so than it will do the United States. This is why there's the sanctions and the hypes about the Nord Stream 2 and energy. It's basically for the US companies to have a say into that. Unfortunately, it's not going to work that way, because it will be far expensive for the Europeans to bring, for example, gas from the United States. They won't. By the way, there is another option that the Europeans may have. In addition to what Norway sends some gas to Europe, but not as much. That the option that the Europeans have has to do with a Middle Eastern country, is Qatar. Well, Qatar is known for having large quantities of natural gas. Also, one thing you need to keep in mind, which you don't hear much about, the possibility that the ongoing nuclear talks in Vienna between Iran and the Europeans and all that, that means they could resolve the issue, which means what? Iran might be in a position, if the sanctions are lifted, they might be in a position to provide energy to Europe. So that's something to keep in mind. But so far, that's what the Europeans are saying. Just pay attention to what you're hearing from other outlets as to how they wording things. But because there is always something behind that will not be disclosed. For example, this case of the SWIFT system, while the West is saying, yes, we sort of removed Russia from the SWIFT system and all that, but in reality, they are removing, or they are sanctioning only few banks. And those banks are not even disclosed. And that leaves you with the question right there as to why that is. So that's just something for you to think about. Now, let me talk to you about, and I'm going to put my geopolitical analyst hat, and I'm going to talk to you about what does it mean for the Kremlin to be announcing the decision regarding the placing the Russian nuclear deterrence on a sort of a high alert. And of course, we all know this is in response to the NATO and the West sort of aggressive statements, and now the measures, the economic sanctions, and so forth. That's a reaction to that first. But there is another alternative that the Russian president has been thinking about ahead of time. Because this is not about, mind you, that this is not about just Vladimir Putin. This is on it has to do with the global order. That is where the issue is, which you won't hear much about because as I always say, guys, the world has already shifted to a multipolar system, but the West is resisting that full force. That's why you will never hear the word multipolar coming from the West. You're not going to hear it. You are not going to hear it. Even you and I understand and see the reality for what it is. It's because the system, in this multipolar system, there are only 3 countries that matter. And I'll say it straightforward. It's China, it's Russia, and it's the United States. That's about it. So this multipolar system now that has already emerged, the West is having, and this is what you see in this narrative emanating from the West and this push for NATO doing whatever it's doing. And once again, I am not here to defend Russia. I am not here to be advocating for the actions of President Putin. And I am not here to just say whatever or sugarcoat things. I am here to provide you an objective assessment as what you will expect from me. This is it. I don't advocate for anybody, and I don't work for anybody, and I only want you to have the accurate information so you can reach your own conclusions. That is the bottom line to it, and you guys know this. Let's not be the dead horse over this one here. So this is where the issue. That is why you see in the West now pushing for this. Now, personally, as an analyst, as a former military, to me, this idea of putting the nuclear deterrence on a high alert, it's a concern. It is a concern for so many reasons. And that is the reason why I wanted to come on the air and share with you what that understanding is. It's because it's very, very, very important for you to understand. And this is why, if you are to read or listen carefully to the statements emanating from the Kremlin, for example, when President Putin mentioned that, we will be, which by the way, Moscow agreed now to sit down with Ukraine if they want to talk, to negotiate. Still that condition still in place as far as disarming Ukraine. There is a reason why they want to disarm Ukraine. Why? Because you have some advanced weapon has made it to Ukraine, which, by the way, Russia is going to take over that weapon. It's a free weapon. They're not going to, it is my belief and my understanding, knowing how some military tactics goes, I don't believe Russia is going to target. There is no way Russia does not know where those weapons are. They do, but they're not going to target those weapon depots, whatever they are being held. It's because that's over $1 billion worth of weapons. That worth something. It's no different than what we did in Afghanistan and left that weapon for that group without saying the name here, because you know why. That was over $1 billion also. So you can just say, but the issue is not about that. The reason why, and again, this is my personal opinion, the reason why I believe President Putin went ahead and issued this alert and gave the order to his minister, to his defense minister, to go ahead and activate the protocol for the nuclear deterrence and put him on a high alert, which means they can deploy whenever he gives the order, those missiles will be in the air. It's not only because of the aggressiveness of the West towards that, because as I said last time, all this could have been avoided had, for example, the Ukrainian government comes forward and said, you know what, we are not interested in joining NATO. That's one. Second, It could have been all avoided, which has been over the years since the disintegration of the Soviet Union, that NATO should not be expanding that close to Russia's doorsteps. We won't be where we are today. So, and the decision that Vladimir Putin made this morning, because he's noticing that if this doesn't happen today, Russia's going to be encircled. And that's going to lead me to talk about Sweden in a moment. But that is the reason why he wants to activate this. Second aspect to it is that, as I said yesterday, I remember I said, emotions tends to run very high. And those who are pushing the narrative in the West towards the war, of course, to profit from it, they have reduced or diminished or ignored the consequences of the day after. So the escalation of that, it's because it's going to be the flexing of muscles, and it's going to lead to some miscalculations. So Russia, in my opinion, is not going to back down. And this is one indication of that. If you are to, Russia, the president, to activate your nuclear deterrence, I don't think so Russian president is bluffing on this. Because here's the thing. If Russia is cornered, they're going to go ahead and deploy and use whatever at their disposal. That I know, as sad as it is. But I have to say it to you so you know. Also for you to think ahead. Also so you can prepare, because this is not going to be impacting only that region. Whatever part of the world you're in, you're going to be impacted, because it will be, this is on a larger scale. And this is where my fear personally, that the West does not know where to stop. You keep pushing. It's like we all experience that. Sometimes you run to a bully, or you run to whomever, and one time you said, okay, it's okay, I'll let it go this time, but that's about it. Yeah, I had it one time personally, and I'll share the story briefly here. Somebody was kind of pushing on me too much. I let it go the first time, I let it go the second time, but third time I gave the guy a warning, and I don't think so he took it seriously, and things got out of control. I'm not going to disclose what I did because I don't want to, but you got the idea. I talked nice first, I let it go second, but a third I had to make a decision on that. This is exactly what I see this scenario going. So the NATO is going to be pushing back, and this is why the idea of, as I said last time, hypothetically, should there be a conflict between the US and Russia, who's going to be the casualty first, in your opinion? You know the answer to that. It's not going to be the US. It's not going to be Russia. It's going to be Europe, Eastern Europeans. This is where you saw there's a division inside. Countries now are saying, well, we can support this, but not this. It's because this escalation, it's going to get to a point. And I think by the time the Russian president made that decision today, personally, it confirmed to me that it's going to go that direction. Because all it takes is miscalculation. There are some agencies, by the way, around the world. When I say agencies, I'm referring to news agencies and networks and so forth. Some of them, I came across one, and I need to correct it on the record here. It's from AFP, the Agence France Presse, in which they disclose that the US is number one in nuclear warheads and second is Russia. It's wrong. Russia is number one. It's not the US. Russia has about 6,255 nuclear warheads. The United States has about 5,550 nuclear warheads. That is a big difference. And half of that, or third of it, is a strategic one. So those agencies, whatever, they need to get their act together and provide information as accurate as it could be, or as it is, rather. So that is the That is the whole idea of why I decided personally to, because you're going to be seeing me regularly this week, to keep you informed and provide you the objective and accurate information to the best of my knowledge, because now there are already this information circulating. I came across yesterday, for example, a picture. I don't have it on me, but it's circulating of this individual's a female who's been hit with something and blood all over, whatever. And that picture, that was from 2018 for something unrelated to what's going on in Ukraine. But have you asked yourself one question? And I'm sure you do. If you didn't, you probably just forgot. But I'm sure you did. How come we are not seeing any live videos from Ukraine? Live. We also what, for example, took place in Canada, right? And you remember there were live stream videos on iPhones. How come we're not seeing any? There are no iPhones in Ukraine? You got my point, right? Now, let me talk to you about where I do see why the nuclear, why Russia decided to sort of place its nuclear deterrence on a high alert. I'm going to mention some technical stuff, but just bear with me here. So, there is one thing in the Russian military doctrine that you need to know about, and it's called the doctrine called anti-access area denial. Anti-access area denial is known in the military jargon as A2 AD. That's all it is. That's, in a military jargon, we use not to mention the word anti-access. All we say is A2 AD. Okay, and this principle basically, which combines, and we're talking about Russian military capabilities here, which basically this principle combines, for example, long-range anti-missile, anti-ship, anti-land missile system. All of this in one capability. And basically the purpose of it is to deny, an adversary the opportunity to operate in a specific region or area. So the reason I'm saying this to you or sharing it with you, for you to put this within the context as to what does it mean when the Russian president announced this morning the placement of the nuclear deterrence on high alert. But the Western media is not disclosing this information. I happen to know about it because, as I said last time to you, I did write the book about Russia and I detailed everything in it. If you get a chance to read it, take my word for it, you will get a different perspective completely. Okay, that is the reason why why Russia decided to go ahead with activating or placing, I should say, the nuclear deterrence on a high alert. So, which means what in this context of the A2 AD is that Russia will maintain its air superiority, which is part of its military power. We all know that. That is one of the issues. So, but by doing this, by having the Russian president this morning stating that they're going to activate or place the nuclear deterrence on a high alert, is sending a message to NATO. It's sending a message to the West to deter them from using any airspace close by. Why? Because Russia has the missiles that can bring this stuff down, and they won't hesitate at using that. And I know this for a fact. It's because Russia will not allow any encircling on its borders, either up north, either on the east or on the south. That's not going to happen. And this is why the idea of recognizing the independence of the Luhansk and of Donetsk rather and Luhansk is of a strategic one. As I said last time, the question that's going to become now is what's next regarding that particular area. Is Ukraine going to be divided into two? Will Ukraine or Kiev government or Ukraine government respect the autonomy of that group? Those are sort of a strategic, what's the word I'm looking for? Decisions that anybody who thinks strategically, you don't think for, as we say, there's a saying in French, il faut jamais regarder le bout du nez. Don't ever look at the end of your nose. You have to look very far. And this is where Russia is coming from. And this is why the whole idea of why they made the decision in 2014 regarding Crimea. But also there is the historical fact, which we in the West tends to be poor readers of history. We don't understand. Okay? So this doctrine of the A2 AD, which once again, you are not going to be hearing about it in Western media. Take my word for it, because you won't. And the reason for that is because Russia's military capabilities will be felt not only on East border, but also will be felt in the Baltic region, Baltic Sea area. It will be felt there. And you may ask yourself, wait a minute, why the Baltic? Well, which any rational individuals will ask that question. Why the Baltic? Well, it is because Baltic has 3 members of NATO located there. Okay? You got Estonia, okay? You got Latvia, and you got Lithuania. The other factor is that all those countries, those 3, are within range of Russian missiles. This is why the area of A2 AD, NATO understands. It's almost like, if I may use the term, dangerous zone. So if NATO ever decided to send reinforcements to these members, they could be halted quickly, and which will expose the weakness of the alliance. No. There is another aspect that you need to know. Russia's placements of the missiles, where are they? They are in none other than Kaliningrad. And why Kaliningrad? Because Kaliningrad is sandwiched between northern Poland and Lithuania. And that provides that buffer for Russia. And this leads me to talk about the third point that I talked to you about, which is Sweden. I remember yesterday I mentioned to you that Sweden and Finland will stay neutral. Today, Russian president issued a warning to Sweden and Finland. I'll admit it, I didn't see that coming. Why I didn't see it coming? Because throughout, since the beginning, literally since the Cold War era, way back, Sweden and Finland made it clear in their policies to stay neutral. This is why I didn't see it coming. I'll admit it, I was surprised. But I also saw the logic of it. Why now? And why it corresponded with the placement of the nuclear deterrence on high alert. This is why I saw that. Why? It's because Sweden understands there is one particular area, and that area called Gotland, which is about 120 miles from Stockholm and 220 miles north of Kaliningrad. Okay? This is why it's very important. And to my surprise, I'll take this back, not to my surprise. The question that I asked myself is to why all of a sudden Sweden is dragging itself into a conflict that it doesn't need. Because Sweden did 2 things. Sweden sent military troops to Ukraine for training only, training purposes only. Even though Sweden is not a NATO member, I still personally question the judgments of their administration to even get sucked into this conflict. Why are they doing that? That's almost like Poland. Poland sent about 10,000 bullets to Ukraine. Yeah. Do they, Eastern European countries, Sweden, do they understand what are they getting into? Do they understand that now that Russia has placed the nuclear deterrence on high alert, that any minor miscalculations, everything will be wiped out? You get, for example, Hungary that's saying they are not going to send any troops. Yes, they did support the SWIFT sanctions. Italy did. Of course, the Canada did. Who thinks about Canada as independent anyway? Then you get Poland, Romania, certain countries that just, they are not. And again, I'm just thinking pragmatically here. They are not thinking the next day. The question, are they becoming pressured to do what they do? So in the case of Sweden, because to me, it just didn't make any sense whatsoever. Sweden and Finland have been at peace with Russia for long, even during the height of the Cold War. No issues there. Because they, Sweden and Finland and Russia, they understood each other's security concerns and they kind of respected it. And this is why I don't get it. Are we just noticing amateurs when it comes down to foreign policy? And I can't speak about Sweden. It's not my country. They can do whatever they want. It's their country. But I look at my own, right here in the United States. Are we dealing with amateurs who are making decisions that's going to impact us on a daily basis? You're already starting to see, and I noticed already gas prices is going up. I told you last time it was $3.29. I saw it today, $3.49, creeping up little by little. Why? Because let me see who this the Jews. Thank you so much for your super sticker. I appreciate it. Thank you a lot. And this is why I am like saying to myself, I hope there are some American viewers here that sort of they need to we need to wake up to understand where things are headed. As I always say, we got enough here to deal with here. What are we worrying about some far lands? And all this, and once again, I'll go back to my original arguments. All this could have been avoided had we just understood Russia's security concern. I am not here advocating for Russia. I am not here justifying whatever. I am here to talk pragmatically because I am not talking emotionally here. I am talking logically because I understand personally, as one who've been on the ground, as one who wore the uniform and I understand the military dimensions of it, as one who did the research on Russia. I understand those dynamics. So I know what I'm talking about and the consequences of it, because it will be no winner. And if we in the West think that Russia is bluffing, we are mistaken. That's just human nature. If you are cornered, you're going to get into some desperate measures by any means. That's just human nature. But when nukes are involved, that's a different conversation altogether. Let me thank this individual here, Ian. So thank you so much. I appreciate your super sticker. Thank you so much, guys. We truly appreciate it. So this is where I kind of concerned. I'm concerned because I've been warning on this in my writing. If you check some of my writing that I did literally 5, 6, 7 years ago, I was warning about this time. This is why I went ahead and wrote this book. And by the way, I had to have the government clear this book to be allowed to be published per se, which is their right to do, because I used to be in the military. So, and I was concerned back then, and I warned about that stuff back then, and this is exactly what we are doing today. So I am trying to provide at least share information with you so you'll understand where things are headed. Who's to say you may be having a conversation with someone? Who's to say? Somebody who can at least understand where things are headed. That is the whole issue for why this is very, very important for us to understand. Politicians have to do what they have to do to sort of, it's their political career. This is one of the reasons why personally, I believe in term limits. You're going to have to put term limits on politicians. You can't be in office more than 10 years. Why do you need to stay in office 30 years? That becomes, sort of corrupted and so forth. And, we don't care about other systems, how they do. And I don't judge others. I don't. I am in no position to judge others. But I have the right to sort of judge my own government. Why? It's because something like what's going on right now, what could it lead to if there are miscalculations? That is where my concern is. Once again, and I'm not saying this to scare everybody, it's just hypothetically, if he moves to the next level, there will be no winner. Sorry. Let me say thank you. I want to say thank you to Kay. Thank you, Kay. I appreciate it. Thank you for your super sticker. So this is the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying. Because we need to be objective and not emotional. Stanley, much appreciated, Stanley. Thank you for your super sticker. I appreciate it. You guys, and I say it, your support means a lot. It truly does. And I am hoping, like the rest of the team, we truly hoping to grow this to a much bigger platform. Truly, and I wish I were a millionaire. I'll build the best studio ever. So we're working towards it. We're one step at a time. But your support means a lot, because I believe we have something to say, and we have something to share with you, all of you, for the sake of our humanity. This is for a peaceful coexistence for all of us. It's not about Russians. It's not about the Americans. It's not about the Chinese. It's not about the Koreans. It's not about whatever. It's about us, human beings. And what's going on right now with these tensions, whomever is pushing this behind the scenes. And I got an idea, Huda, and I intend to talk about this, not on this platform. We're going to be talking about this one elsewhere, and I will. I have the list of the names. Hey, Boone. Thank you, Boone. Boone, by the way, is our member. He's a member. He doesn't miss any session when we have it. Thank you very much, Boone. I hope you and your family are doing well. So, and this is one of the reasons why we're saying, personally, and I was like, okay, you're going to have to help people understand the truth, understand the reality of what's going on. Because as I said, we're going to be bombarded from right and left. Who do we going to believe? Who do we listen to? Everyone seems to have an objective. And what for? Instead of just provide information and let people reach their own, as long as it is an accurate information. It's not misleading. As I said again, I am shocked and surprised to find out that picture that was circulating, that was from 2018. Why? We just got out of Afghanistan. What are we dragging our country in another? What for? And how come when other countries concerns about its security, it's not right for them, but it is right for us? And this is why I wanted, and I'm going to be coming on the air more often this week, because I want to keep you updated on this information. And the last thing I want to close with, guys, is, as I said earlier, Mustafa. Thank you, Mustafa Kamal. Appreciate it, sir, for your super sticker. I want to leave you with this question. And the question has to do with, hypothetically, and just indulge me for a moment and think outside the box. Hypothetically, let's just say, for example, and as I said, as geopolitical analyst, I have to think of scenarios that you will not consider. So, well, I'll think outside the box. But just this is for all of us, not just me or you, all of us to think about. Hypothetically, let's say this issue of Ukraine is resolved. The Russians and Ukrainians sat down, came up to some sort of a solution or resolution, that is, the Ukrainian president still in his possession, and good luck to him, whatever. They came up to a solution where they can coexist, and the independent regions where the Russian majority lives will be protected, and so forth. And the West realized, oh, we couldn't stir more trouble on this. Wouldn't the next step be Taiwan? This is just to think outside the box. Because as I said earlier, there are only 3 countries that matter in the world: US, Russia, and China. So if I were sitting in Taiwan right now, I will be thinking, me sitting as a member of government, not as a citizen. I don't know if citizens there do have a say or not. But if I'm sitting there as a member of government, I'll be thinking, do I truly want to attract this kind of conflict right here? Because China could do the same. China will activate its nuclear deterrence, seal off certain areas, because right now Russia seems to be sealing off access to the Black Sea. So, because this is the same, the way I look at it, guys, is the same scenario between what's going on right now in Ukraine and what might happen in Taiwan. Because in Ukraine now, they have those 2 options: either surrender and negotiate a deal. And I'm not saying you should be scared of the Russians. All I'm saying is it is no match. And the decision this morning of the Russian president to activate the nuclear deterrence, for me, is a red flag. So you think. Kelly, thank you, Kelly Y. Appreciate your super sticker. Thank you so much. So this is what I'm thinking about. We have to think in terms of down the road. Till when are we going to be moving from one conflict to the next, one conflict to the next? And for us Americans, some of us, and I'll use the term, I'm not going to shy away from it, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Some of us are oblivious to what's going on. You will think by now they would wake up. Where are we going with this? One conflict after another. It's reality. And we need to really face it. So this is the reason why I wanted to come on the air today, guys, because I wanted to share this with you. I couldn't wait till tomorrow, because this week is where sort of you need to have the accurate and independent information so you can reach your own conclusions and understand where this conflict is headed, so you can prepare yourself. Once again, doesn't matter what part of the world you're in, you're going to feel the impact of it. We're already starting to see it right here at home with the increased prices of energy. The government is not even talking about inflation. We're not even talking about the increase in crime rates. Education, healthcare costs, and all that, that's another conversation altogether. So this is why I wanted to come on the air and share this with you. Once again, guys, I truly appreciate, on behalf of the entire team at Geopolitics in Conflict, we thank you so much for your support. It means a lot to us. And for you, who happens to be your first time watching us here, make sure you subscribe. As I said last time, guys, we do the in-depth analysis. That's for our members. You might want to check out our membership there if you feel like it at geopoliticsinconflict.com. But also remember, on Fridays, we're going to be doing live stream on the other platforms, and I'll post it for you on Wednesday, because we're going to be detailing this topic from a different angle altogether stuff we can say here. Okay, I hope you find this information very useful, and I want to thank you for truly sharing your knowledge as well. Let me thank this individual here. Yeah, John Paul. Thank you very much, John Paul. We truly appreciate your support. It means a lot, like the rest of you guys. We truly thank you so much. So, as I said, hope you find this information very useful, because I am learning from you as well. When I read your comments, I learn from them as well. And thank you for sharing, and thank you for being so respectful, because we don't see this kind of nasty comments anymore. It's because they realized, oh, this is not a platform for me, because I can't talk intelligently or whatever. So I thank you all for this, and I much appreciate your support. Stay tuned for my next update, because I will be on the air soon to give you an update. As always, guys, stay informed. Till next time. Bye-bye.